Hi there. As always, it's been a while since I've done a video, so I thought I'd come back to you with a review of Iron Man 3, the latest film in the Marvel film franchise and the latest in the Iron Man franchise. I think this film kind of marks a new stage in Marvel's films and in Iron Man films for two reasons. Firstly, it's the first film post-Avengers, so it's everyone knew Avengers, that's by Joss Whedon. Essentially it was the team of Avengers brought all the Marvel heroes together, or all the Marvel heroes that had a film previously, brought them together in a team to fight this massive alien threat, a threat much bigger than the rest of the movies. And it was a massive budget, of course. It took in thousands of millions, even billions at the box office. Get great reviews, everyone loved it. It just really brought the kind of Marvel hero concept together into a film. And this is the first film post-Avengers, and people were wondering if they were going to refer to the Avengers. Were they going to show that Tony Stark is also in a Avengers team and he's been through this whole alien threat? And they definitely do. I'll come back to that later. And the other reason this is different is because it's the first Iron Man film not to be directed by Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau directed the first two films. He also plays Happy, who's Tony Stark's kind of driver and bodyguard. It's ridiculous that Iron Man has a bodyguard, but yeah, he's still in this film as well. Shane Black is known for directing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He wrote that as well, which is a fantastic film. Robert Downey Jr. stars in that too. In his style, he's got quite a unique style. It's very kind of fast paced, lots of witty, fast dialogue, and it definitely shows in this, and I think he was a great pick for the film. Yeah, I'll talk about him later. Anyway, for the plot, everyone knows Iron Man's the billionaire playboy who basically created a suit of armour that's filled with weaponry. He became an Iron Man, and he uses this weaponry to fight supervillains, fight crime. To be honest, the fighting crime part never really shows in the film. It's usually huge threats, and this definitely shows in this. Robert Downey Jr. plays Tony Stark and Iron Man, and he's perfect for the role in my opinion. He can play the Tony Stark billionaire playboy aspect, but he can also play the genius aspect of Tony Stark, and he can play the Tony Stark Iron Man, as in the man behind the mask. He comes across that really well. He's really enthusiastic about everything. Just really talks really fast, but also very full of wit, essentially. And that's Shane Black is really expanded in that in this. Yeah, I've realised when I read the comics now, I also read in Robert Downey Jr.'s voice, so that shows how much impression he's had on me for the role. We also have Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, as Tony's assistant and girlfriend. I never really liked her before the Iron Man films, but she fits the character perfectly. Also got a few action scenes in this, which is good. We also have Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin. The Mandarin he's quite a big character in the Iron Man comics, and in this he plays quite a big part. His character arc is actually something you really won't see coming. Some of the comic fans might not like it because it's quite a big departure from the comics, but I loved it. I thought it was perfect, and Ben Kingsley brings it off perfectly. We also have Guy Pearce, who appears as initially as a kind of unkept, unhinged scientist with an idea, tries to give it to Tony Stark essentially, tries to get Tony Stark to buy into his company. Tony Stark obviously doesn't care because he's not a girl, or not a woman, so he's just left. He appears later in the film and becomes one of the main villains in the film, which is great to watch. So I think two of the main reasons to go see this actually is for Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, which is great as always, and for Ben Kingsley. So that's the acting in this is perfect for the role. Everyone does their part brilliantly. The plot of the film, it basically is good because it shows Tony Stark at his highest and lowest. It shows him at his highest when he's got all the latest Iron Man armour. He's on Mark 42 I think when it starts. He's got all this new technology. It shows him constantly adding to it, constantly improving on the Iron Man armour, and constantly adding to his arsenal. Essentially, as you've probably seen, that there is an Iron Man army essentially from the trailers, and that looks brilliant. The action scenes with the Iron Man army shows Tony Stark and Iron Man at their highest, and shows that everything he can do, really being a superhero. But also shows Tony Stark at his lowest. Again, as you've seen from the trailers, his mansion is attacked, pretty much obliterated, completely destroyed. Tony Stark is is gone essentially. He's at his lowest. He's left stranded in the middle of America, kind of the back states, and he's really, he has nobody. His armour isn't working. It shows him trying to come up from that. So it shows the high and low stages of Tony Stark in the film, which is really good. The main enemy in this is the kind of extremist project, or extremist project as it's pronounced in the film. This project was the one that Killian, Guy Pearce's character, tried to give to Tony Stark in the beginning, and he just didn't care for. Or actually he worked with it with another scientist, but yeah, you'll see that as you watch the film. But Tony Stark left that, so Killian has essentially used that for evil. Extremists turns people into essentially supervillains. They have ridiculous powers and they're really hard to kill or even hurt in the slightest. They also have ridiculous things like fire breathing abilities. Like it's kind of tongue in cheek when they mention that. Like Don Cheadle as well. I totally forgot to mention him. But still plays War Machine, who becomes Iron Patriot in this film. And there's loads of kind of wee jokes to that and everything. It's very good. It does become very light-hearted at points, but that's, I think, all the Iron Man movies are like that. It has to be kind of jokey because it's a guy in an Iron Man suit. They don't shy away from knowing that it's a comic book movie, which is very good. Yeah, so Tony Stark's fighting against the extremist project, which is, as far as threats go, it's and the Mandarin's obviously behind all this as well. As far as threats go, it works quite well because it gives Iron Man enemies that are near its equals to fight. It's not just regular humans, it's other people that do have powers, or other people that are as strong as him. So there is a lot of really good action scenes that utilise the extremists as villains. So the action scenes, visual effects, it's one of the best parts of the movie, I would definitely say. Like, even at the end of the film, it showed the visual effects team, and it was definitely the biggest part of the credits. There was so much of them, and it definitely would have to be there because Iron Man's armour obviously quite complex. So many animations for that, and then it adds in another 15 or so other Iron Men, because Iron Man creates a new army. So all the action scenes work brilliantly, but it's not all action. They still have all the character arcs, developing characters, bring some other characters in. Every character is quite believable in it. There's no one you're wondering quite who they are. Everything's totally developed. There's nothing left out. The story does have the regular points of a superhero story. It's pretty perfect in that respect, and all the visual effects are brilliant. In terms of directing, as I was saying about Shane Black, it's very fast paced and everything. This definitely shows. Obviously Tony Stark is a fast talking full of wit character, and he does that perfectly. And all the other characters kind of gain this wit as well from Shane Black. Even some of the way the film starts is very reminiscent of Shane Black's other film, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Yeah, and I love that film, so it was kind of a great start. There's a lot of kind of what's the word? There's a lot of kind of first person voiceovers throughout the film, and from Tony Stark. So it's very good to get an insight to his character. Also about the Avengers film, it does bring it up through the film quite a few times. Tony Stark starts having anxiety attacks because he was in a huge battle filled with gods and aliens. It's something that would probably affect you for the rest of his life. So it's very good that it brings reference to that. There's like a few wee flashbacks to the battles from the Avengers, and I quite like that. I quite like the idea that it's showing you that it is the same universe and this did happen to Tony Stark, and that he still does have his own threats to face in this film, but he did face the massive threats of the Avengers films, and I'm hoping the rest of the solitary single solo superhero films that come out next reference the Avengers as well. I'm sure they will. Yeah, but yeah, so it was obviously I enjoyed the film. I'm probably quite a bit biased because I love Iron Man stuff. I've only recently kind of really got back into Avengers, and that was like the week or two before going to see this, so I was really looking forward to it, and it was all the style was perfect. It was perfect for a comic book film essentially. So it is a high rating essentially. If I was going to bring it, I have to bring it down slightly because some of the dialogue is a bit too smart for its own good. People don't talk quite full of wit as they do in the film. Like even some of the villains, the way they talk. Although it's funny and enjoyable in the film, I did enjoy it. It's not exactly realistic, but who am I to talk about realistic in a superhero film? So there is that. There is also the plot isn't that deep. It has all the waves of the characters, and everything expands and develops as it goes on. There's a few twists and everything, but it didn't really make me think. It didn't really bring any deep emotions into me, and there wasn't anything left. There was that they wanted me to think about it. Like, I kind of like movies that don't explain everything, but the answers is there if you look deep enough. But this is simple. But I suppose you have to do that for a superhero film. It has to be all good for everyone. Obviously, it's not just aimed at a kids' audience either. It definitely feels like an adult film, which is good. But kids can also enjoy it. So it's fantastic. I think overall I'd give it an 8 out of 10 again. Because story and dialogue, two of the biggest parts of the film. I have to take 2 scores off for that. So 8 out of 10. It's a real great film. One of the best, probably the best Iron Man film, I think. Iron Man 2 was good, but not quite as good as Iron Man 1. And watching Iron Man 1 again, I can't enjoy it as much because I'm just sick of seeing the origin stories of superhero characters, because I've seen so many, and especially because I know Iron Man so well now. I just don't enjoy it as much. So in my opinion, it's the best of the Iron Man films. So I definitely recommend go and see it. I think it's already actually took in more. The opening week of this, Iron Man 3 took in more than Avengers in its opening week, so it's definitely going to be successful. And it also ends saying Iron Man will return, or Tony Stark will return, so there's going to be another one. And there's going to be another Avengers film as well. There is also an after credit scene which you should stick around and watch for the whole minute it is. It's pretty good.